Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on this glorious afternoon. I'm, of course, Gregor Guy, joined by Mr. Casey, Mr. Cuz. This here will be episode 14 of the podcast. Possibly with a new name incoming soon. We will be discussing this thoroughly. Took it off already?
We already did the introduction.
Jesus. That was like 15 seconds, bro.
Mr. Casey obviously had a new look going on over here.
These chairs aren't made for those kind of cowboy hats, I can tell you that.
Could you imagine wearing a sombrero?
Yeah. I used to have a sombrero, I don't know what happened to it.
I can't really envision you, being in a mariachi band.
I have no idea why I even had this.
With the poncho on?
Did you buy the sombrero? I think you bought the sombrero when you were...
I don't know.
I don't know.
Actually, yeah, I got you that sombrero from Mexico. That's correct. Yeah. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened to it. I had it in the back of my car for like the longest time and then it just disappeared.
Fair enough. Anyway, here this week on the podcast, we are going to talk about the corporate vaccine mandate. Obviously, depending on what camp you're in, you either support it or you're against it. But I think there's a lot of information to unpack here, a lot of opinions to unpack. So I'm going to just jump right in and toss it over to you, Casey, because I'm pretty sure I know which camp you're in.
Are they calling it a corporate mandate?
Well, I mean, it's kind of put out by like OSHA, the way I understand it.
Well,
so,
I think it's a federal.
The way it was explained to me is that that's originally it was supposed to be companies of 100 plus more people, and at this time, from the information that I'm getting from multiple places, it's saying that even if you are a company of one single person, you will still have to pay this fine. And I can't. What was the fine? $14,000. Do we have that written down?
per
it
violation.
Is $14,000.
Yeah.
Stupid amounts of money. Yeah.
Right.
Does that does red flags go off on anyone else's head other than trying to financially force you to comply?
Right.
It's unfathomable, in my personal opinion.
They're trying to smother you into submission.
Right. Definitely, in my personal opinion, authoritarian.
Right.
Authoritarianism at its best.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I other than the fact that my mind is like, I don't want to say confused, but I'm like flabbergasted that something like this is actually happening in a free country like the United States of America.
That they had the gall.
Right. Or even the fact that they could possibly even implement something like this.
Yeah.
And that also brings up the question of, the said legalities of, possibly even trying to, I don't necessarily want to say, push this into law because I'm not 100% sure it is law, with it being like a mandate and everything.
It personally, in my opinion, if it's not passed by legislature, it's not a law.
Okay, well then how can they enforce it if it's not law?
Exactly. I have no idea how this is being enforced. I don't know. I do know that they want the companies to take control. The company that you work for is supposed to take control and report on their employer's vaccine status.
At the same point in time, I mean, how can you enforce that?
It might not be because it's a mandate and not a law. They could be operating in a gray area to make people basically follow a mandate, but it's a law. You know what I mean? It's not. It's camouflaged as a mandate, but it's not necessarily a law. That way they can get away with.
Well, yeah, it's not a law because it'll never get passed.
Right. But they're gonna like we said before, gonna smother you into submission. Like your survival is pretty much gonna come down to getting this vaccine or being tested every week.
Right.
Which is gonna cost the company that you work for money for the test every single week.
Which they obviously, on their balance sheet, the bottom line, they're not going to want to be doing. And on top of that,
this is tax deductible.
This silly.
Is it though?
Is that something that would be tax deductible?
That's an interesting question. I never even thought about. Would that actually be tax deductible? I would assume it would be because it's an expense incurred by the company.
Right.
But at the same point in time, it's not going to be 100% tax deductible. Because how else is the government going to profit on it?
And it'll also, no matter what, slow down production for whatever company has to implement it, unless they do it and let off the clock.
And then what's to say the company doesn't just say, "Oh yeah, all my employees are vaccinated"?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Who enforces that checks and balance and so on and so forth. If they don't, force their employees to get vaccinated.
Right. And then is the government, do the test. Right? And is the government going to go in and check every single company for every single person?
I almost guarantee you they'll try.
Yeah. I mean, they could try, but I mean...
Well, if you think about OSHA shows up at a company, how many months throughout the year?
Yeah, pretty much the only time there's like a grievous accident. Right.
So, OSHA spread pretty thin. You really think they're going to show up to every company? And this mandate? And
okay, all right. Well, let me say this. It was mandated through OSHA. But the question is, are they going to be, the facilitating body that actually takes care of these checks and balances that need to happen after it's implemented?
Who else would? If the companies just want to say, everybody.
If there's a $14,000 fine, I would say the IRS is going to be involved at some point.
Who's going to go around and check though? That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean, no one knows. No one knows, and they want to start doing this shit on January 4th.
Right. Conveniently after the holiday season.
Right.
So if it was really that big of a deal, the holiday wouldn't be a priority to skip at that point in time.
They're doing it because they know a lot of people are going to quit. A lot of people are going to quit their jobs.
People already. It's the Great Resignation.
Right.
Why the fuck do they want more people?
Well, even more. That's why this still continues to not make sense. Is that they know that people are opting out of working because of this, and now they're gonna double down on top of it and put in a mandate, which makes even more people quit their jobs. It's like they're definitely 100% attempting to destroy the economy.
You think they're trying to do universal income?
They've been trying
insidiously right now with this whole coronavirus.
Because
they're still giving stimulus checks out.
Universal income is never going to work. If you want to be a prosperous country, I do not, my personal belief or opinion, believe that universal income can work. They can implement it, but the problem is that the driving force behind people trying hard to further themselves or to
some people are more productive
to create things. Right. To create things is gonna disappear. Right. So everybody's just gonna do humdrum through their day.
Yeah.
Just doing what the least amount possible to get that paycheck.
Yep. There's no driving incentive.
Right.
To do better and prosper. It's just gonna be like whatever.
Which is my personal opinion on the same thing with why socialism won't work.
Well, okay. Well, at the same point in time, that would also be based upon, a monetary value that you get, that you will be able to survive on, let's just say over a month period of time.
Right.
At the same point in time, think about this. If the government wants people to, obviously, no. They should theoretically be wanting people to be working.
Right.
That way they can collect their income tax, right?
Right.
So, and if they introduce something like this, and okay, let's just say, granted, this is a off-the-wall number. Let's say 20% of Americans quit their job on January 4th.
I think that number, I don't know. I think it's exaggerated.
I know it's high.
Think,
I'm just saying, though, because I don't have the exact, vaccination numbers for the United States in front of me right now. But, let's just say like 75% are vaccinated, even though I'm pretty sure that number is also very high, right? 5% will either, bend to the will. The other 20% are going to be like, go fuck yourself.
Right. It's definitely an uncertain time. I can tell you that.
But, anyway, getting back to my question I was trying to formulate was, how does that benefit the government as soon as they're not collecting that income tax on the 20% of the people? Meanwhile, they're still just ratting off printing.
They just print money.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
hurt them
think
at all.
the word you're looking for is control.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
basically control everybody.
Right. All right. So let's also, going off that, let's say they do establish the, this universal basic income. Mm-hmm. Let's just say you're getting 4 weeks in a month, right? Let's say you're getting $4,000 a month. Okay. Right. Let's take this as an example. This is only an example. What happens when they debase the currency, the inflation of money printing and whatnot, to the fact where the $4,000 you were getting per month, is like basically worth like what $2,000 is at this point in time.
Right. Is groceries and stuff like that going to go down as well, so that it keeps in flux?
That's right.
No, it's gonna cost more. It's definitely hyperinflation. There's no doubt about that.
But there wouldn't be any inflation with universal income.
And
the dollar would.
To be completely honest with you, the people.
Well, no, there will be, because they're going to have to keep printing more money. So there's always going to be inflation.
Yeah, if everybody could work and you had people that have more work ethic and drive to have a better life, but if you have universal income,
not necessarily the concept of universal basic income.
Right, I'm just saying that if you had universal income, then the money would just be.
I want to put this out there. So if they're doing hyperinflation, so a house next year is going to be worth worth more than it would be this year. So let's say, I'll tell you this: I have a set interest on my house. It's going to cost me. It costs me about $1,200 a month to pay for my mortgage. So that $4,000 a month, if they go with, you're going to get $4,000 a month. I do not have to work another day in my life.
But that is also before taxes.
Right, that is also before tax. So
you probably get like about $2,200.
So let's talk about a person that doesn't own a house right now, and they're getting $4,000 a month. That house, the same house that I bought for the amount of money that I have, and the amount you pay per month, is going to be a lot higher, because they know they have that money.
It depends on the housing market, though. At the same time, like if people are renting apartments, then rent's going to be higher and housing cost is going to be down.
Okay, I just had a thought. What if? Do you mind? Because I believe you're the only one out of the three of us that actually has a mortgage at the moment, correct?
Right.
What interest rate are you paying on your loan?
2.4%.
2.4%. Okay.
I have a VA loan, and I just want to point that out. I have a VA loan for my interest is going to be a lot lower.
So what is it
fair enough.
without?
This is what I'm getting at. What is to stop you from refinancing every year, taking the equity out of the home, and still paying that lower financial fee? Because the fact is that we are looking at like basically about 6 or 7% inflation a year,
Right.
and just profiting off that.
So I'm not an expert on this, but so when I got like some kind of like an IRRL VA refinancing loan is something that I keep on getting mail about.
Mhm.
They want to lower my interest because of the historical low interest rates on the loans, and it would decrease the amount I pay per month by 200. This is just from what I'm reading. I'm not an expert, and I'm a little bit afraid.
Not financial advice at all.
I'm a little bit afraid to step onto
Entertainment
these things
purposes
because
only.
I am not an accountant and I don't 100% understand the loans. But they're saying they're going to lower my monthly mortgage rate to $226 by $226,
Okay.
and per year my savings would be $2,000, which makes 0 cents to me personally in my mind.
Well, if they lower it by $226 a year, your yearly savings should be like upwards of like $2,500.
Correct. I would have to have somebody look at the papers because I don't understand how that would be a correct figure. It doesn't make any personal sense to me in my mind. And also, I would have to pay a closing fee just like you would on any home loan. I would have to repay a closing fee or increase the interest rate to cover that.
Now, would you get any equity out of what you already paid in off of said loan?
I believe, I think that it would, basically, I think all it's doing is extending my 30-year mortgage.
So you gain no equity out of what you already paid in?
I think that I would still have whatever I've already paid out. I think I would still have equity in.
So, for clarification, are they going to send you an equity check or not?
No.
No. Well, then that's just kind of stupid.
Right. If it basically,
This is realistically a lot of the issues. It almost sounds like that happened back in 2008.
right.
I mean, to an extent where they were just like, shitting out these fucking mortgage loans that they knew people were going to bail on, but they kept trying to get them into the
Right.
refinancing state. Yeah, we'll save you X amount a month. Yeah, we'll save you X amount a month. We'll save you X amount a year. So are we really going down that path again?
It looks like it. I mean, I get this mail.
I will review this if you want to show it to me.
I get this mail like once a month from the company that I get my mortgage from, and I also get mail like probably like 5 or 6 different companies at a time in my mailbox every single week, trying to get me to refinance my house. All the time. Most of the mail in my mailbox is about somebody trying to refinance my house.
Does that trigger you?
It annoys the crap out of me, definitely, because a lot of the mail just goes straight in the trash. As soon as I find out it's a refinance thing, whoop, trash. Then you know how many trees they're killing a year?
I was just going to say that. That's right. Spam mail. Destroying rainforests. You heard it here first. Do you have any opinions on this matter there, Cuz?
The only thing I was thinking of is because Ken's a vet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something
Veteran, thank you for your service,
Yeah.
by the way.
It's a job. I don't know how to take.
This is a little bit off topic here, but they're giving illegal immigrants. Biden's giving illegal immigrants $450,000.
Now that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure that has gone through. It was a suggestion, and there were talks about
I
it.
have no
but
idea how they would. First of all, I would have no idea how that they would implement it. Second of all, if you're trying to trigger every U.S. citizen
Right.
into a into a friggin' fit, that's gonna just.
But the fact is, he thought about it and tried to implement it.
Right.
Regardless if it goes through or not. This is the type of mind this guy has. Is that veterans that have died for this country and the family members left behind are only getting $400,000. and you're going to give illegal immigrants.
400. When have I getting 400?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, where's your
You're
check
not-
at, bro?
You're not dead. I'm talking about the families of
Okay.
deceased veterans.
I'm pretty sure the life insurance policy on veterans is
It's
not
like $250,000.
Is
Well,
it-
this
is
is
it that
this
much?
is this is
Okay.
what I heard from a
Didn't
governor
know.
talking about it. I don't know who he was, but
Unless they increased it, it was $250,000.
he was saying every veteran's family that died in a war,
And you would have been deployed, right, in combat.
that died in
to
combat.
Get that much, if
Right.
you just got in a car accident, in the state,
Yeah,
you probably
no,
get like 25, something like that.
Yeah, no, this guy was talking about like actually dying
Right.
was 400,000, but yeah, Biden's gonna give illegal immigrants 450,000 that aren't even citizens.
Well, I mean, and that's crazy to think about. Just think about this for a second. You're giving an illegal immigrant almost $500,000.
Right.
I have never had $450,000 in my bank account in my life, and you're going
Right.
to just
And
give
you're just gonna
some
give it-
random person that decides to run into the country, across the border, more money than I've ever had in my bank account.
Mexico, if you're out there and you're listening, I will swim across the Rio Grande the opposite way for $450,000.
I will too.
Well, pesos at this point.
Well, I don't know how much pesos compared
does
to
not-
You heard it first.
Dude, the exchange rate does not add up on that because it'd be like fucking $4,000. All right.
I mean, I'll live there for a year for $4,000. I mean, how much is a place down there?
Well,
for a
no,
couple
Greg's
years?
gonna swim. Greg's gonna.
I can't swim, so that ain't gonna work for me.
That's what I'm saying. Actually, I'm gonna have to like tie a rope to him and shit and be like, God damn it, fucking kick your feet or some shit.
Oh, for 4Gs.
It'll be 8Gs.
Oh, 8Gs.
2 pup.
Yeah, you gotta help each other.
All right. So anyway, we were saying $450,000 to someone
Who's not
who
even a
is
citizen.
not a resident of this country. That basically comes out of my pocket, comes out of your pocket,
Right.
to an extent comes out of your pocket too,
On and off.
so on and so forth. I just don't see how that this can actually even be something that is discussed.
Right.
What would be the purpose of this? I don't even understand.
Well,
what the purpose would be.
they're claiming like pain and suffering.
Right.
Well, I mean, we're not the ones that caused the pain and suffering.
Right.
They
They're the
they
ones
did.
that-
Their country caused the pain and suffering for them to want to leave and move here.
Okay. At the same point in time, I would propose this question. Do we not endure pain and suffering at this point in time for living in America?
I would even go deeper than that, and we got homeless people and people that are suffering in our country worse than we are. But we're going to give illegal immigrants money when we got people freezing in the wintertime.
All I'm going to say is, being out, having been outside of the country, this place is a
You've
great
been
place.
outside of the country.
This place is a great. This is a great place to live for everybody. Even like when I was in Afghanistan, in an Afghani house, so they're living in basically mud houses created by mud. Their living rooms, maybe if they're rich, they have a coffee table in it with some pots and stuff.
But they're used to it. They grew
They
up
are.
there.
They are used to that. That is part of their. That is part of their life. And the poorest person in this country is, in my personal opinion, maybe financially or it's hard to explain, but they are living a better life financially and security wise than people outside of the country in third world countries.
So you're saying your
I'm
fellow
not-
vets with PTSD and mental issues living on a sidewalk.
And cuz living in a cardboard box.
Right.
There's that kind of pain all over the place. I mean, literally, we were just talking about.
It's a double-decker cardboard box.
Right.
2 times.
we were just talking about. You'd have to watch the episode, but I was talking about how in Mongolia in the past, and those kind of places are happening right now, where you're kidnapping your own wife There's places out there like that. There's still places in Africa where slavery is legal. We're talking about this country. No matter who you are generally speaking living a better life than anybody in any third world country, and that is not our fault, by the way. That is their country's fault.
Right, but we still have homeless people that are starving in our country.
We do.
So they're not living better than the third world countries. They're
No,
I
I would say
some of them they probably are
well, yeah, if they're shiesty and they stand on the corner
out there panhandling. And
yeah. But people that actually have issues.
That could potentially be a discussion for another
Yeah.
day. I believe. Write that down.
They're out there on the corner and then get in a Mercedes Benz and drive off.
there's a lot of
What movie was that from? W vs. South Central. Must have
Can't
been.
remember.
there's a lot of dishonest people out there.
There is, dude.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I want to propose one last question, realistically. What do each of you view as the actual legalities of this said mandate imposed by OSHA coming down from the executive branch?
It's only legal if somebody enforces it. First of all, it's not a law. It's a mandate, and a mandate made by a president. It's not passed by any legislative body whatsoever. Every single mandate throughout this past year, where there's shutdowns and there's masks, you have to wear a mask and all that.
You go back
That is
more than
not
a year.
a law. I mean, yeah, you can go back more than a year. None of these are laws. The problem is that there's people willing to enforce the law. These mandates. I don't want to say enforce the law. They're enforcing these mandates. And by the way, there's laws that are in place that they are not enforcing. They're enforcing a mandate over laws.
So, kind of like, I assume you're talking about looting?
I mean, that's definitely one of them.
But it's not even
And the problem is, even if they get
Discussion for another day.
even if they get arrested for the looting, they're not going to be prosecuted by the attorney generals of those states.
Unless you're looting the Capitol building.
Well, those people, personally, in my opinion,
Or defacing property.
Yeah. Those people, in my personal opinion, are political prisoners. They are not. They may have broken the law, but there's people in other places and doing the same thing to federal buildings that have not been subjected to the kinds of things that these people.
The same
political
consequence, you'd
Right.
say?
Right.
And, on top of that, swift consequence?
Right. And they're still talking about it. They're going to do it's going to cost millions and millions of dollars to do some off-the-wall investigation in Congress.
Your tax dollars hard at work.
Right. It's a waste of time, a waste of money. Everybody knows that they're political prisoners. This country is going way down the wrong path, in my personal opinion, and it's not a winning path for anybody.
Strong words coming from a veteran who served.
Two
tours?
Two different tours, yes.
No, well, 3 tours in 2 different countries, correct?
2 tours in 2 different countries.
Oh, two for 2. Sorry. My apologies. What are your opinions on that?
My opinions on this are that, okay, so you have laws that we have to abide by, right? These laws are basically to keep you in line. But here's the line. You draw the line. You draw the line where you have to abide by these laws if you live in this country, right? But crossing the line is telling people to do something with their body that they do not wish to do, right? I'll go this X amount of speed on this road, or you understand laws.
It's more or less like a social contract kind of thing, though.
Yeah,
I mean, to an extent, it is enforceable by local.
Yeah, but it's understandable to an extent. You may not agree with it, but it's understandable. It's not impeding on your body in any way.
Right.
What they're doing with this mandate is, and I believe 100% it's unconstitutional. You can't tell people to do something with their body that they do not wish to do. That's going down a dark path that we don't want to do in this country. The whole reason why our forefathers came here and made the country what it was, keyword what it was, in the past, is because they seen dictatorship and tyranny, and we're slowly going down that path as they push control on all of us.
What do you see as the difference between, let's say, I mean, obviously there's a difference. Shooting, putting a jab in your arm as compared to putting a computer chip in your body. And how thin is that line?
Well, you don't have to put the
wouldn't do
computer
either.
chip.
Right.
You don't have to put the computer chip. It's not pushed on you.
No, but in the future, you're breaking lines. They're slowly breaking lines.
Right? Yeah. Slowly breaking lines. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with what you just said. This, the whole mandate thing. This is kind of being forced upon people.
Right.
And this is my entire problem with it, because there is this little document called the Bill of Rights. Correct?
Right.
Correct. Do we all know what the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights is?
Please explain.
It is basically the freedom to express yourself in a public opinion, and also freedom from religious persecution. So basically, anyone out there that has a problem with this, all they need to say is, it's against my religion.
And
Whether you have one or not.
They're trying to suffocate that at this point in time. You realize, like, it was okay at the beginning. Now all of a sudden, it's not okay with this mandate. It doesn't matter what you believe in.
Well, did it not only also become not okay as soon as the mandate thing, started coming around?
Yeah. They're obviously trying to squeeze your neck a little bit more and more to follow what they believe in, and that's not what this country was founded on.
The first right you had constitutionally that's been eroded was the freedom of
speech.
Well, it was the privacy.
It's speech. I mean, I
firearms. Where are we going to go?
No,
We're going to go down every one of them because they're trying to attack
number
them all.
two, but
Yes, and speech is one.
Speech, expression, religion, and what was the other thing I said?
It's the search and seizure was the one that I'm.
That's four.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm headed for. The search and seizure, where now they can listen in on your phone calls anytime they want, and they say they aren't, but they have this power because.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like a Patriot Act thing.
Right. Well, I mean, at the same time, that is the first one that they almost completely have eroded.
Which
away.
also, just for clarification purposes, the Patriot Act has been initiated for 20 plus years.
Right.
You believe that?
And I think it's permanent. I don't think it's going anywhere.
No. Yeah, I mean, how else are they going to, impose, control on people?
Yeah.
Unless they can weed out the individuals that they don't like.
Right.
Or that are saying stuff that actually possibly makes sense. And could possibly get the rest of the populace behind them.
This may be controversial. What I'm about to say is, so Rome back in the day figured out that whipping your slaves and physically abusing your slaves was worse than letting them feel like they had freedom. They had freedom of choice. And I think that our country implemented those strategies because Rome was one of the longest standing fucking...
It's kind of like revealing the mask, right?
Right, but you want to control their mind. You want them to feel like they are the ones deciding their future when really you're
manipulating in the background.
Everything that they're doing, right? And Rome did that really well back in the day. And they didn't have internet. Like, these motherfuckers, the United States, even like China and all the superpowers do the same things.
Yeah.
Okay.
You control the mind, you control the populace. You don't have to physically beat people.
The problem is people are waking up to that too. People are definitely waking up to that.
I agree, but that also poses a separate question: is where do these social medias land on this? this. Obviously, we all know that most of them are, fairly compliant with most of the stuff that's going on. If there are anyone, or if there are any social media platforms that are non-compliant, they just get shut down. Like,
Right.
At a ridiculous amount of speed. As soon as they say or something is on there that doesn't go with the narrative.
I think they do the things that the social media companies are doing, the things that they have to do to survive, because I don't think they really. I think in some instances they do have control of the things that they can favor, but I think that the federal government, through different organizations, including the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, will use whatever tactics they can and have to control even the corporations.
Whatever makes money, I think, is really.
And I do think it goes back the other direction too, where however much money that you have, the more sway you have on fighting, or not fighting, but controlling your own.
You may not even believe in it, but if it makes you money,
right?
Okay, but full circle. Let's just go ahead and say that this whole mandate thing causes 20%. I mean, granted, that's a high number, but let's just say it's even 10%. 10% of Americans just be like, no, ain't happening. 10% of the federal income tax gone. Are they just going to charge companies?
Just going to print more money.
They're just going to print more money until you submit it.
That's the whole reason why Nixon did what he did.
I mean, realistically, you really think any one of us is going to submit?
Fuck no.
No.
But you got to remember.
So is that not a long-term losing proposition for the federal government?
I think of those 10%, at least half of them will submit. At a certain point, at some extent.
Well, it went from 75 to 5 in the margin to 20, but now you cut that down to 10. So let's just say 2.5.
Here's the problem with modern society. People like comfort more than opposing a dictatorship or authoritarianism, right? Like, people like their air conditioning, they like their TVs, they like all these things. People aren't willing to give up everything like people in the past used to do.
Because they have more.
Right. I think that's going to be key to breaking this whole, I don't want to say tradition, but I guess ideology of how the government works in the whole control scheme. People don't want to give up their comforts in today's world. Right? People in the past would have lived in a fucking hut and sticks.
And they did.
And they did.
I still
and you would
I
literally
still
have to.
I mean, I had to fuck with these fucking assholes out there.
See,
but most people won't.
Let's talk about that for a second. Where back in the day, people lived in huts and stuff like that. You would literally have to send a soldier 20 miles out to that hut.
Why does it have to be a soldier? Why can't I just walk that 20 miles?
Because you would be a soldier defending whatever you
Right.
believe.
So the king or the lord of that area would have to literally send somebody out there.
What do you want to be, a jester?
That's assuming that it's a monarchy system too.
Well, I'm just making a lot of
You're defending what you believe in.
I'm kind of just giving you like a. So
why does it have to be any form of government? Hey, maybe I'm just doing my own shit. All right.
Yeah,
hey, guess what? Maybe I need some corn. Maybe I can trade you some rice.
That bartering systems never work, because what if he has enough apples and he doesn't really want your corn? Then that's why people are
trading. You want to bang my wife?
That's why in the like Mediterranean Sea they traded seashells. Like, this is debt. They would give a person seashells and say, like,
well, why aren't I out there digging up seashells all day?
Because
okay, well, if I don't, guess what? I'll go back to my house. I'll eat my rice. He'll eat his corn. And, so what? I mean,
and then what happens if there's a drought?
Maybe we could make a trade. Maybe we could have Thanksgiving together one time.
This is where the banking systems came into play. Because what happens if all his fucking apples rotten or your rice?
He doesn't have apples. He has corn.
Whatever the fuck it is. Either way, what if he runs out and he's starving?
I think you're all missing the point that I was trying to make.
And that wasn't.
Well, he was going into bartering systems.
Right.
And that's why
So my basic point was nowadays that everything's interconnected and they can immediately impose these mandates on you and you have to conform immediately.
Right.
Back
or you
then,
your luxuries.
Back then, somebody might live 20 miles out of this lord's area, and he would literally have to send a soldier or somebody that works for him out to that location to impose their will on you.
Yeah, and the guy would probably
and it might be like 2 months
fuck
later.
you!
And then the soldier would have to walk back with whatever taxation that he had, and then 2 months, and then you'd have to send somebody out 2 months later, and the whole time that guy's doing whatever the hell he wants for those 2 months.
What a time to be alive.
But
diseases
really?
and all, I'd rather live then than today.
So we're talking about the differences in the world from then to the differences in the world from now.
Well, think about it. We live longer, but look, we're shells of human beings. At least back then, you lived in the wilderness, right? So say you had a log cabin. Like, at least you had a little purpose. Nowadays, what do you do?
Well, I think that's the way problem. The way
there's no purpose
society
for most
now.
people. Yeah,
because they know that they'll have to work day and night for 70 hours a week to afford a decent place to live.
I don't realistically believe that's even a valid argument because I'm fairly certain that all three of us here could hunt our own food if the situation actually presented itself.
Yeah, and wouldn't you feel more fulfilled, right, than just being a shell in this fucking world?
There's only one way to really find out. I mean, you could have your opinion
off the grid.
That's what you want until you actually do it. Because you know they have these small socialist societies. They'll pop up and you can.
Well, I can prove this to you.
Right. Well, give me a second.
Go ahead.
These small socialist communities. That's what they think that they want. Right. They think they know what they want. They want this idea of everybody working together and everybody having the same amount. So they move out to these areas and they don't have the luxuries of the world and they can't create those luxuries because they have no capitalism to trade to another place. So they normally last for maybe 1 to 2 years, and then they have to move back into society. Because
counter argument to you: there's more suicide in first world countries than there are in third world countries.
I would completely understand and agree with that because you're more in your own head.
Stress. There's way more stress.
Yeah.
There's way more stress in first world countries than there are in third world countries.
Yeah.
They're living in the moment.
That's it. All they give a fuck about is food and water.
Trying to survive.
That's it.
And
food, water, shelter.
And what
three basic principles.
What are you trying to?
So that's just.
What are you trying?
Your argument right there. Because if you're living in a first world country, you have that comfort of going back into society.
But people that people that have came from a first world society and go to a third world society generally always go back to the first world society. Now, the reason why I believe, my opinion, that there's more suicide in a first world country than a third world country is because it's not really about achievement; it's more about survival. And then when you get to a first world country and you're pretty much guaranteed your survival, you have to find another purpose. And a lot of people have trouble finding that purpose or that happiness within their lives.
Well, what would be the purpose of going to a first world country if you have everything?
It's kind of a weird thing where you have everything that you need to survive. So there's a rat experiment.
I was going to say I was getting ready to go to the rat experiment. Go ahead.
I don't remember. I don't remember what it is. I would like to know that. Let's talk about that on a future episode because I can't.
I would love to go on that rat episode, dude. It was a mouse episode. It wasn't rats.
Okay.
Anyway,
go ahead. That's a science and technology thing you can bring up next week.
Okay.
Well, all right. There we go. That was some sort of episode.
Right. We kind of got a little off that.
Yeah, but we kind of went down different
routes. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Final thoughts. I'm going to propose this final thought. This shit is fucking illegal. What do you got?
At the end of the day, it is. It's unconstitutional, and they need to go fuck themselves. I'm glad that different states are about to sue the federal government for this.
Yeah, that's actually already been happened.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that it won't be implemented, or it won't be, because I definitely think they're going to try to pass it. I don't know if they're going to be able to fight it. I'll have to look into the legalities of it. Personally, in my opinion, there's no way that this should be allowable by the federal government, and I'm just hopeful that it's smacked away.
And on top of that, forcing another, I don't want to say not branch, but a arm, OSHA, to enforce this. I mean, it's just stupid to me.
It's basically the equivalent of somebody holding you down and shoving a...
Authoritarianism.
Yeah.
It's really what it comes down to.
It's fair enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 14 of the podcast.
November already.
It is November now.
November.
I am, of course, Gregor Guy, joined here by Mr. Cuz and Mr. Casey.
Interesting topics.
Interesting topics. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What are your opinions on this entire controversial, it's a really controversial matter.
I got you.
Remember to like, share, and
Subscribe.
Hit that bell button.
thank you for joining us for
Goodness
this.
gracious, great balls of fire. I don't know.
Fair enough.